Today we're going to be looking at UFC fights that must happen in 2025. Now, do I think that all of these fights will happen? Well, I sure hope at least 8 or 9 of these fights happen. You'll see what I mean. And look, if these end up happening, which they should happen realistically, this will be one of the biggest years for the UFC. Maybe this might just be the biggest year for the UFC. I was going to say one of its biggest years in its history, but this might just be its biggest year if all of these fights take place, which I sure hope they do. And when they do, don't come back to the video saying, oh, I'm such a genius, because this is just some common sense that we're using today. But yeah, without further ado, let's begin with the most obvious one. Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. Yes, we're probably tired of hearing this all the time, but look, for the heavyweight title, it's one of the biggest heavyweight fights of all time. It's been gassed up to a stage now where it's a really, really big fight. Look, we got the champion versus the interim champion. Only one can be undisputed, and it's a 10 out of 10 rating on the must scale. Like, it has to happen, right? Like, I understand, Jon got injured and whatnot, so there had to be an interim fight. But now, he's fought Stipe, so now what? There's no excuse but to fight Tom. There's no excuse. So, do I think this fight is going to happen? I do. I do think it's going to happen. I think Dana is going to, clench his teeth a little bit and pay Jon what he wants, but it's going to be worth it, for the fans. And this is going to be one of the greatest fights we're going to see, because either someone's getting knocked out or we're going to see an absolute masterclass from one or the other. I think you know who I'm talking about for each. But yeah, enough said about this fight. We've heard too much about it already. Du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev for the middleweight title. Look, massive mega fight. Massive fight. We know Chimaev is next in line. We saw what he done to Robert Whittaker. Like, he just handled him, like, didn't even give him a chance, right? Didn't even give him a chance. And realistically, we look at the state of that middleweight division. Unless, Dricus is going to, fight Pereira or whatever's going to happen there. We don't know about that for certain. He said after in the press conference, Khamzat's next in line. So, he's next in line. Exactly like that. And let's just think about this, right? I know Khamzat's undefeated and all, but what does it mean for Du Plessis if he ends up winning this fight? Now if he ends up winning this fight, we look at his resume. He's beaten he's beaten 3 former champions at that point in Adesanya, Strickland, Robert Whittaker, and next up and coming, basically the future. I know Khamzat ain't that young, but still, there will be 4 big names in the mid. Surely we have to start a conversation about Du Plessis. But look, let's put that to the side. When this happens, we'll cover it. But it's a 10 out of 10. It's a must happen. Yeah, can't wait to see this happen. Bilal Muhammad, excuse me, versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. It was already supposed to happen, for the welterweight title. Shavkat, next in line. It's about time. He's on like a 15-fight win streak or something. It's a must-happen fight. It's literally the next fight to make for both. There's no excuse. Yeah, quick one. Islam versus Arman. Again, this fight should have happened. It should have already happened, but Arman got injured allegedly. But all right, cool. And Islam, well, he got put in there against Moicano, who had no business being in there against Islam. You literally put him up against the final boss when you're a level 5. Do you know what I mean? There's like, come on, Moicano was never going to win that fight against Islam. Islam is on another complete level. Like, in my opinion, Islam right now is in his peak prime. Like, I think right now he's reached his peak. And honestly, I think he's going to maintain that peak for a little bit now. Does he get better from here? I mean, he honestly, if he just stays the same, I don't see him losing at all. But, Arman is him. People are saying that this guy is the guy to beat him. So we need to see this fight. I give it an 8 out of 10 because Arman fumbled a little bit. Like, he should have fought. But if he actually was injured, then fair enough. But I give it an 8. I would give it a 10 out of 10, but I give it an 8 now because he kind of fumbled his chance. So if Arman needs to go ahead and fight someone else, and, like Dana White said, we'll see. So if that is the case, we see Islam versus Charles Oliveira. It's a rematch for the lightweight title. It's exciting. They've already got some history. I give it a 7 out of 10. I still think that Arman fight should be prioritized over Oliveira. But I would not mind seeing Charles Oliveira versus Islam for in the rematch. Like, we need, I honestly, it makes sense because Oliveira, he's beaten, he's on a 2-fight win streak, I believe now, or is it a 1-fight win? Because he lost to Arman, and he recently beat Beneil, and he beat, what's his name? Michael Chandler. Was the Beneil fight before the Arman fight? Well, whatever. His last fight was Michael Chandler. He beat him. I'm pretty sure Oliveira's number 1, number 2 ranked. Arman, if he's not next in line, then realistically looking at the numbers, Oliveira should be next in line. All right, enough said about that. Let's go. I've spoken about this fight in my recent video. If you watched it, about the chance of becoming the double champ. But Merab versus Pantoja for the bantamweight title. It's something for Pantoja because let's look at it. Let's be realistic here. We look at the flyweight division. Pantoja has no one left to fight. It's only rematches, or he's fighting like a number 8 contender or someone outside of the top 10. He's already beaten everyone there. So why not go up and challenge yourself against Merab? Now, like I said in that video, if you watched it, go ahead and watch it for yourself. Do I think he has a chance? No, he has no chance. Honestly, I don't think Merab is losing that fight. Like, let alone any fight right now in the bantamweight, especially against the flyweight. But honestly, a champ, that's a big promotion right there, that they can push. And I give it a 7 out of 10 from the context that, Pantoja will be the one, moving up to fight Merab for the title, and they can't, get someone to fight Merab. But I give it a 7 out of 10 because I think the next fight has to be Peter Yan. Look, it's a rematch. Peter's the next in line. He's on a 2-fight winning streak. I understand when they first fought for the first time, what was it? Merab got 50 or something takedown attempts. It was crazy. I know, I understand. But we look at it. We look at Sean O'Malley. I believe he's the number 1, right now. He hasn't fought, since that Merab loss. They're not going to throw Umar at him again. Peter's the next in line. It's a 9 out of 10, fight to make. And, that for his, second title defense against Peter Yan. Honestly, I love Peter Yan. I honestly genuinely think if anyone can do it in that division, it's Peter Yan. It's just something about him. Like, I understand, his losses and whatnot, but don't write this man off. If we look at it realistically, he's only got, one actual loss. Because then we got illegal knee, and then he lost to, O'Malley, and then all of that stuff. So, yeah, if he makes the adjustments he needs, he could pull it off. I don't think he will, but he could, right? Cool. Next, we have to speak about this fight. Islam versus Ilya. It's, come on. Like, this is one of the biggest fights that, we've been speaking about recently. Super fight. Just think about the pay-per-view numbers. But realistically, on the must scale, it's a 6 out of 10. Because Ilya still, right now needs to defend his title against Volk. If he wins against Volk, then it makes more sense. But what if he loses? We can't just, throw out stuff out there right now. As well for Islam, he's still, he could go ahead and move. There's no need for him to fight Ilya. There's nothing in it for him, to be honest. So it's a 6 out of 10 on the must scale. We would love to see it on the love scale. It's like a 1,000,000 out of 10. I would love to see this fight happen. But honestly, maybe they make it, maybe they don't, maybe they delay it. If they get the venue in Spain, a lot of factors. So we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah. Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway. Now, I know what some of you might say. If you watched my recent video on, who Poirier should fight in his retirement fight, in his last fight in the UFC, I said Gaethje. Now, hear me out. I said Gaethje makes the most sense from the UFC's POV because they got that 1-1, going on, and, it's a brawler, and it just, they just fit, that Gaethje and Poirier just fit together perfectly, like a puzzle piece. But honestly, I think that this, it's like I said it in the video, go watch it for yourself, but oh my days, it's a huge rematch. It's Poirier's last fight. These guys are both gonna absolutely beat the head off each other, just gonna be a full-on blown boxing masterclass. And I think, it's I put it at 7.5 on the must scale because I mentioned in that video, we haven't seen Holloway any news. He hasn't been booked for anything yet. Since he's lost to Ilya. We know that Gaethje and Dan Hooker are about to go at it. So who's to say, these two aren't already in the making and are going to get, announced soon. So we just have to wait and see. But the more I've been thinking about it, I would love to see this fight. Honestly, like, it would be so good, for Poirier's send-off. But at this point, put Poirier up against anyone, and it'll not anyone, but the top guys, and it will be an exciting fight. Wrap it up, right? Conor versus Michael Chandler. If Conor's actually gonna make his comeback this year, maybe this year, right? Welterweight, it's a rematch. Well, I guess I say rematch, but a rebooking. Should I rephrase? To UFC 303, they were supposed to fight, but Conor, his foot injury and whatnot. It's Conor's comeback. On the must scale, it's a 10 out of 10. I don't see who else Conor should fight if he when he comes back. It's Michael Chandler, right? This fight has been in the making for years. They coached against each other in The Ultimate Fighter, and it just makes sense. It just has to happen. So I don't see why they would make any other fight. They're already booked in the first place for a reason, and Chandler hasn't fought since losing to Oliveira back in last year either, and there hasn't been any announcements. So we just have to wait and see for that. I don't believe I have anything else. No, I don't. Well, let me know what you agree with, if you have any disagreements, and do you think that I'll say every fight, let's put aside Arman against Islam and Islam against Oliveira. Let's just say, if one falls out. Do you think that 9 out of these 10 fights can take place this year? Because I would love to. Personally, I think there's a very high chance they should. Right? These are the fights to make. But we'll see how greedy the UFC are with their fights. So, other than that, if you enjoyed it, drop a like. Let me know what you think. What are your thoughts? You agree, you disagree? And I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye-bye.